Okay, so today we are going to revise mandible. So mandible is present in the lower or inferior part of the skull. If this is the skull, for example, this is the foramen magnum, this is the eye, this is the nose, and this is the maxilla. Then this is the mandible. Okay. This is present in the lower portion of the inferior of skull. So now drawing the mandible, this is the lateral view from the side, and this portion, this portion is called as the ramus of mandible. And this is the posterior portion. This will be present in both the sides like this. This is the frontal view from the front. If you look at someone from the front, this is what the mandible will look like. And this is the ramus, this portion. This portion is the ramus. And this portion is called the, this is called, this is called the body of mandible. This portion or this one. Okay. So once again, this rectangular part, not rectangular, it is actually four sided. Okay, this is, I don't remember the term. Let me check. The ramus is quadrilateral in shape, meaning it has four sides, may be parallel or it may not be parallel. It has two surfaces, the the lateral surface, and the medial surface. It has four borders. The anterior border, which is this one, this is the anterior border. Since it is present anteriorly, anterior means always front. Posterior border, whenever we mention anterior, there will always be a posterior. This is the posterior border of the ramus of mandible. Okay. And then the superior border. This is superior border. Superior means upper. Superior means above or upper. And this one is the inferior border. So two surfaces, lateral and medial, four borders, anterior, posterior, superior and inferior. And it has two processes. Now what do you mean by process? Process is something like an exaggerated elevation sort of. So this is a process. Anything which stands out like this is a process, and this is a process. So this and this both are processes. The anterior one is called the coronoid process, and the posterior one is called condylar process. So let me draw this again. So this is the lateral view. This is the lateral view of the right side of the mandible. This portion is called the ramus, quadrilateral part, and this portion is called the body. Okay. And the teeth are here. They will be here like this. And line, the imaginary line that almost touches the tip of the teeth and goes through that almost touches the tip of the tip is called the occlusal line, because the surface which at the tip of the teeth are called occlusal surfaces. And along the occlusal line is present a fovea in the inner side but not on the outer side. Okay. This is called the coronoid process. and this one is the condylar process. Now, the anterior border of the ramus of mandible for goes down obliquely downwards and forwards, or anteriorly and inferiorly towards the body of mandible, and this is called the oblique line. This portion is called the head of the mandible. Head of condylar process. And this portion, the constricted portion, is called as the neck. And this entire thing is the condylar process. This is the coronal process, this is the condylar process. This portion which makes an angle is called the angle of mandible. Okay. There is a foramen present in the lateral side of the body of mandible. This is known as the mental foramen. This is better seen from the anterior or facial view. Foramen means foramen. This is visible. Foramen means an opening. Okay. This is known as the base of the body of mandible, and this is the body of the mandible. Okay. Now, this superior portion of the body of mandible is known as the alveolar process. Alveolar, why? Alveolar always means teeth. Bearing teeth. This portion, this entire thing is called the alveolar process. This goes around, obviously. And this depressed region forming a notch is called mandibular notch. This thing. Now we will draw the mandible from the mesial side, or from the middle, from the center of the mouth. Okay, so So this is the occlusal surface, because the teeth are like this. So this is the occlusal surface, This is the occlusal surface and this is the occlusal line. And along the occlusal line, in the ramus of mandible is present a fovea, foramen, a depressed region. This is called the mandibular foramen. And there is a tongue-shaped bony structure which whose tip is directed towards the condylar process, and this is known as the lingula. Okay. This is the lingula. This is called the lingula because it is shaped like the tongue. See, tongue is shaped like this, and this is also shaped like a tongue. So lingula always means tongue-like. Okay. So tongue is also called lingulus or something. So this is lingula. This is a bony structure which is directed towards the condylar process. This is the condylar process, coronal process. This is the occlusal line, and this mandibular foramen is present just above, just within the occlusal line. Just what? Wait, let me check. This lies at the level of occlusal line. I've drawn this wrong. Let me correct it. The mandibular foramen lies little above the center of ramus at the level of occlusal surfaces. Okay, so this is the mandibular foramen, and this will be the lingula. This foramen leads to the mandibular canal, myloid canal, mandibular canal. Okay, I don't remember it. Okay, and this anterior portion of the ramus follows a curved line going inferiorly and anteriorly, and this is called the mylohyoid line. And here there is a portion known as mylohyoid groove. This is known as mylohyoid groove, and this is the mylohyoid line. This is the mandibular foramen. This is the lingula. Okay. Now, the mylohyoid groove begins just below the mandibular foramen. This is beginning just below the mandibular foramen, and it runs downwards and forwards to be gradually lost over the submandibular fossa. Okay. Here in this portion there will be a submandibular fossa. We'll discuss fossa, foramen, all about the fossa and about the foramens in the next lecture. The anterior border of the ramus of mandible is thin and the posterior border is thick. The coronoid process, this is the coronoid process, is a flattened triangular upward projection from the anterior-superior part of the ramus. So this is a triangular, almost triangular. Okay, now this is a triangle. So it's a flattened. This is obviously flattened. This is very flat triangular structure which projects upward from the anterior-superior part of the ramus. So what do you mean by anterior? So anterior means towards the front. Superior means above. So anterior superior part, this is the ramus, this is the anterior and superior part of the ramus. This is a flattened triangular projection at the anterior superior part of the ramus. Its anterior border is continuous with the anterior border of the ramus. So anterior border of coronal process is just the same as anterior border of ramus. Okay. The posterior border bounds the mandibular notch. As I had told, this is the mandibular notch. So its posterior border, the posterior border of coronoid process bounds the mandibular notch. The condylar process. This is the condylar process is a strong upward projection from the posterior superior part of the ramus. This is a strong projection, strong upward projection. See, this is the ramus and this projects upward. So this is a strong upward projection from the posterior means piche or behind, superior means above. Posterior superior part of the ramus. Its upper end is expanded. See, this is expanded from side to side from the head. So from side to side, this is wider than this region. This is called the head, and this is called the neck of condylar process. So this is widened or expanded from side to side. The head of the condylar process is covered with fibrocartilage. And this head articulates with the temporal bone to form the temporomandibular joint. Articulates with the temporal bone. So always when naming joints, it is named like if the joint is between two bones, then they always name it like half of this bone, half of this bone. So this will be temporo, because it joins with the temporal bone of the skull, and mandibular joint. So why fibrocartilage? To avoid friction. The constriction below the head is called the neck. I've already told that. The anterior portion of the neck, shows a depression. So this is a depression obviously called as pterygoid phobia. This depression is called as pterygoid phobia. Now, let's study the mandible from its anterior portion. anterior view. This is extremely difficult to draw, but let's try. बोल. 5 वाला कर, 5 वाला, 5 वाला डिप 5x5. क्या? हाँ 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 हाँ, ठीक. ओके. Let me find the skull in the PDF. Okay, so let me find it. This may not be exactly symmetrical, but you got to do what you got to do. Okay, so this is the condylar process, this is the coronal process, same this side. This is the anterior view. We are looking at someone from the front of, from their front or facial view. Okay, now this will be the occlusal surface, obviously because the teeth are like this. Okay, and in the anterior portion of body of mandible, there lies a elevated portion. This is known as the mental protrusions. This is prominent in many actors like Hrithik Roshan. Mental protrusions. Protrusions means elevated, prominent part. This is called the, what is this called? These 2 points, elevated points, are known as mental tubercle. These are mental tubercles, this is mental protuberance, and the line joining the two parts of the mandible, which is formed. See, the mandible is obviously the body is formed uh, during the embryonic stage and fetal stage. So when these bones are formed, they are fused in the center, but at the point called symphysis menti. Symphysis means joining, and menti for mandible. Menti. Symphysis menti or menti. The mental foramen is present just below the canines, I think. And this is called the mental. Mental always refers to the mandible or chin. Mental foramen, and this corresponds to the position of mandibular canal. Mandibular canal ends at the mental foramen. Okay. Now this is the anterior view. Now we'll draw the view from the posterior side or from the inside of the mouth. Now this is the, if we look at the other side of the body of mandible, this will be the symphysis menti on the other side, and this is the center portion. Here there will be incisors, the central incisors, the lateral incisors. Okay. So now here there are four elevated bony structures. There are small elevations. These are called genial tubercle. This is the superior genial tubercle, and this is the inferior genial tubercle. So that is it for now. Whatever I remember right now, I have told, and next time I'll study more and teach or revise more.